This is an age of disruption, of profound revolutionary change.
What we're really asking ministers is to empower the ambassadors.
The only thing that you really push forth is the truth.
You don't see many women represented when it comes to the decisions as to how to handle the pandemic.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs, good morning, and welcome to Politico's Future of Food and Farming Summit. I'm Douglas Busvine, Politico's Agriculture, Food and Trade Editor. Harvest time is a traditional time to celebrate, but it's also a moment to reflect on the farming year that's just passed, as well as the year to come, so our summit is, as always, well-timed. It's been an extraordinary year of extreme weather, of both drought and severe flooding. The upward march of average temperatures, summer 2023 was the hottest on record, has wreaked devastation, the devastation that scientists have long predicted. It's also been a year of conflict to Europe's east in Ukraine that has affected the security of the world's food supplies, and the tensions have spilled over into the EU, with eastern member countries bordering Ukraine blocking imports and casting doubt on Europe's solidarity as Kiev resists Russia's war of aggression. It's been a year of friction, too, in Brussels and Strasbourg, with conservative lawmakers mounting a rearguard action to block or stall key elements of the European Commission's Green Deal agenda. And with the clock running down on the executive's mandate, how much more policy will get done by the time we meet again next year? And it's been a year of pain for consumers. Food price inflation spells hunger in poorer countries and an affordability crisis for many in the richer West. It's a challenge for policymakers that raises fundamental questions over what sustainability actually means for farming and food, and whether sustainability is affordable. Well, there's plenty of ground to cover today, and in today's interviews and panel discussions, and I'm sure they will be a rich and nutritious source of food for thought. For those of you who are attending in person, welcome again. And for those of you joining us online, again, welcome. So before we kick off, I'd like to thank our partners for making the summit possible. The lead partner is Bayer, and the visibility partner is the European Council of Young Farmers. And so we have a few housekeeping rules. You can ask questions through the swap card platform. If you are in the room, you can scan the QR code on the screens. Otherwise, check instructions on our event website. If you're already on the platform, feel free to chat with fellow attendees and ask questions in the question box to the right of the screen on the desktop. And below the live stream, if you are viewing on your mobile. I hope you've got that. I think we'll share those instructions again a bit later. So we like debate, so please talk about us on Twitter or the social media of your choice. Our Twitter hashtag is #PoliticoAgriFood. And now we'll start our first session of the morning. I leave you in the capable hands of our politics reporter and Agri team alumnus, while he interviews Stutis Navickas, Lithuania's agriculture minister. Thank you, and over to you, Eddie.
Great. Hello, everybody. So, my name's Eddie Wax. Thank you, Doug. I am Politico's politics reporter, formerly on the Agri team, coming back today for to remind myself of what a fascinating world this is. Putting back on my food and agriculture cap as we kick off with this opening interview with the Lithuanian agriculture minister. So I'm going to wait for a few more moments until we see him. Ah, yes, fantastic. So we can see you, Minister. Can you hear us?
Very well. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So I'll just quickly introduce you, because you've been not only, you're now the agriculture minister, but you were previously environment minister. You're now also a member of parliament in Lithuania as of April this year. And the party that you're from, the Homeland Union, is a member of the EPP, the European People's Party, at an EU level. So that's the centre right. I wanted to kick off our 20-minute conversation talking about what's been happening in Eastern Europe, especially the consequences from the war in Ukraine, Russia's war in Ukraine, for agriculture. So we've seen several member states, Poland, Hungary, Slovakia notably, imposing these unilateral trade bans on grain coming from Ukraine. I mean, what's Lithuania's position on that? You haven't put a ban on Ukrainian grain, so do you think that these countries have flouted international law, flouted EU law? Do you condemn them?
Hello. It's it's a good question to start to discuss, but it's a different situation in countries which is it's a neighborhood. It has a border with the Ukraine, and with a different situation which is a bit abroad. So we are close, very close, but we don't have a direct border with Ukraine. I would not. I'm not the one who would charge decisions by Poland or Hungary or Slovakia, but it's a recent developments, which is I see a lot of openness and cooperation to solve the problem. You know that when the Commission didn't prolong a ban for import of the Ukraine grain, two countries didn't join us immediately. It was Romania and Bulgaria. I know that Slovakia also now do not have bilateral bans, and we have very, very intensive constructive dialogues, trilateral dialogues with Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania to shift border controls and phytosanitary controls to Lithuanian ports. I very hope that beginning of next week we will have solutions. Yesterday I got a phone call from Ukraine minister, so we are with the Ukraine, and I think this is no question is that all European countries stand with Ukraine and try to find solutions to solve. Bilateral bans, it's happening. Also, countries has a different situation. Countries also has the rights to protect own decisions. Opening Ukraine's grain center to EU borders, it was also I can say today that it wasn't prepared very well because we faced out many issues which should be solved, and now considering the latest Commission decision, which Ukraine should provide a system, license system and control system, how they will control. I think this is already lessons learned, and I see a lot of constructive today to solve the problem.
Message that by next week you could have some solutions there, but surely, I mean, you don't have to be a political expert to realize that, for example, why Poland is doing this is being surely heavily influenced by the upcoming election on October the 15th. So is this not, are Ukrainian farmers not falling victim to the national politics of some countries? Slovakia is having an election this weekend. Middle of October, we'll see Polish elections. Do you not worry that national politics is weighing heavily on the decisions behind these unilateral measures?
It would be too simplifying how to say cause of the problem just to saying that its decision was made because of the election. So it was a problem. Countries discussed very, very clearly, because none of the country, and even when we're having talks at the European Council, Agri-Fish Council, we always talk that it's not a question for transit, but there was also, how to say, non-set up house rules, how we'll deal with the Ukraine grains in the inner EU market. I mean, just figures. If you can imagine, Ukraine can ready to export during the war conditions, about 50 million tons, if I'm correctly. So it's the same amount which all European countries altogether has capacity to export the grains abroad to the said countries. So it's a big player, and Europe. I think it should be very openly to discuss about what does it mean, and to find to agree on the rules of the house, how we will play in the long term with a partner which is Ukraine.
You know, we've spoken over the last couple of years, and I remember there was talk about you know, given that the Black Sea grain agreement brokered by the UN and Turkey has fallen apart, and Russia was even bombing the port of Odessa again in the last few days. You know, there was talk that the Baltic Sea, that your country could be helping with its own solidarity lane, so-called solidarity lane, to shift grain, you know, to the north, and you know, get it onto international markets in that direction. But what's the hold up there? You know, why is it being said now that the Danube river ports in Romania are really the only option? Why not a Baltic route? What's the problem there?
You know, the economy works like the river stream. It goes with the easiest way and cheapest way. Of course, distance water roads are always cheaper, and this is no question why these corridors are more effective. But what we are talking and where we emphasize, but what if it will be bombed, if it will not work? We have alternatives, and alternatives we are set up in alternatives through the Baltic ports and also German ports. That is our message, because imagine if the infrastructure in the Black Sea or the Danube delta ports will be destroyed totally. That's what's happening. Anyway, Ukraine's farmers should have roads, ways to export their own grains, because it is significant income to the country which is under Russian aggression invasion, and that we should understand. I mean, all European countries very clearly stated it is a situation where we have to hands to help Ukraine to solve, to help them to win the war.
How ready are you at the moment? I mean, we talked about the annual output of Ukraine, export output of 50 million tons. Obviously, you're not going to be exporting anything near that. But are you able at the moment to help them export any kind of significant number? And what would it take? Is it about money? Is it about political will? Is it about the railway gauges? I mean, what's the main problem? And how much can you export right now?
Yeah, talking in figures, today we are ready to help with 500,000 tons per year. So and now we do a lot of upgrades into our railway networks, also Polish side as well. I'm talking about infrastructure upgrades, and we can increase up to 1 million. So per year, it is anyway something. It's not so impressive as you told, but that's what we have. But it's even more. I would not, how to say, fit or stop at these figures, because European railways infrastructure it is needed for the long term perspective, and we see not a perspective to upgrade our networks, our railways. Not only because of the Ukraine grains, but also in the long term, because this connection Black Sea, Baltic Sea by ground, it's gas potential in the long term.
Okay, let's move on quickly now to talking about something else, which is, of course, everything's related. But I want to talk to you about the European Green Deal, because you know the mood in Brussels now is certainly especially after Commission President von der Leyen gave a big speech a couple of weeks ago. The mood is now that we're in a different phase of the Green Deal. We're not going to be seeing much new climate legislation, much new environmental legislation. In fact, the farm to fork strategy, which is the agricultural part of it, seems to be almost forgotten. Or it seems to be, you know, there are parts of it that were expected, but they're going missing now. And that is largely due to the political family that you're part of, the EPP. So do you agree with this move to kind of slow down the Green Deal? Do you see it as a move to slow down the Green Deal? Do you think that this is a big change that we're seeing?
A lot of things already has been done when we are talking about common agriculture policy. And I see a lot of positive things in the long-term perspective, in particular talking about sustainable agriculture and sustainable food production. Yes, some issues are slowed down, I agree, and it's probably normal. And I think it's quite clever to do it, because when we have very good or very attractive political statements, always devil hidden in the details, and implementation. This is something what I think we should improve, in particular cooperation among different DGs at the Commission. I always give an example about we have these obligation to maintain permanent grasslands. And when we discussing with the Commission, asking, okay, permanent grasslands, it's for which purpose? What is the primary purpose of the permanent grassland? Is it a biodiversity? Is it agriculture, landscape diversity, or it's for climate change? And the answer was a climate change. Then, okay, climate change we are buying, but what's wrong if these permanent grasslands then are forested by forest? From the climate change perspective, it's even better. But no, after different periods, these lands disappearing from agriculture databases, land databases, and that shouldn't be like that. I think we can reach a lot of good things to be more precise and more holistic into implementation stages. Then I think that would be more appreciated by farmers, that would be more understandable by societies, and this is, and I think it's still a lot of what to do with the current and agreed legislation which we have. Secondly, what we also skeptically or how to say limited in our support, it is also that we still have these dimensions, Nordic and middle of Europe, and we sometimes feel that European policies try to solve problems on cost of the provinces, of the countries which is not in the middle of Europe. And in particular in Nordic countries we have still already quite strict regulations, in particular for the pesticides using. And when we are talking about new targets, it seems that something like going to be that something what cannot be implemented in our countries. On another hand, climate change happening and new pests, new insects appearing, and we should ready for that. So many good ideas on the Green Deal. I really positive about that, but a lot of what to do on implementation stages, and I think improving quality on actions plans, on implementation regulations, we will get a better result in future with the current legislation.
Just to take you up on one thing you mentioned on this pesticides target that's been going through the tunnels of Brussels for a number of years now. Do you think the Commission, with only sort of 8 months to go before the Parliament elections in June next year, do you think the Commission's, do you think that there is a point in negotiating this, or should they kind of cancel the discussions about the 50% drop in pesticides?
No, not. It's not cancelled. That's for sure. But what I would expect it as a minister for agriculture from Nordic country, Lithuania, I would expect that okay, we're going with a new target, but just put very fair figures on sharing responsibilities in terms of implementation. Because when we get initial figures, it seems that minus, it was very close to minus 50. It's in some terms it's really unimplementable. And secondly, European also declared to simplifying administrative things, why not to have a system if different pesticides are registered in the Nordic countries, Nordic dimension countries. I think it should be available in the market for any other countries without the national pre-registration. What does it mean? This additional national registration for small countries like us? Okay, we have like a small micro sectors like gardens, or like a fruit sector. And of course, it's all this legislation or getting new legislation, not legislation, but license for pesticides using, it's increasing cost and increasing times. And I think we should go in hand with hand to find a solution, how to simplify all processes, and then talk what is a realistic target for which particular pesticides, etc., etc.
Okay, I just wanted to, we've only got very little time left now, unfortunately, but I wanted to bring you back to the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about Ukraine, because later on we're going to be talking with some great panelists about the future of the common agricultural policy and how it could have to change, if Ukraine becomes a member of the EU. So I wanted to ask you, what's your vision for how the CAP will have to adapt and have to be reformed if you have Ukraine, which you've already said, as we all know, is a massive agriculture, producer, huge food producer. If the EU has 28 member states or more, how will it have to change? What will be the cap post 2027?
Yeah, very, very good question. Thanks for that. I think it definitely will be the hardest chapter in negotiation. I'm pretty sure. Secondly, it shouldn't go in the same scenario when it was with current member states because of the amount, because of the specific amount, agriculture potential, and etc. So what I would call at early possible stages, even now, today, tomorrow, already talk what does it mean for Europe to have a Ukraine agriculture member as a member of the family, because it's scenarios which EU used up to now, it will not work in terms of Ukraine, and this is that is my message. I think I don't see any trend or worry to Ukraine to be a member state, but rules. How will work in the common market should be agreed in as early as possible, because that a lot of what doesn't help to Ukraine to be a member state. It's a lot of rumors, worries that it could be make a mega impact to European agriculture. Let's talk it very openly with figures, with trends, with worries. Put it on table, and I think we are smart enough to find a good solution for every country, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Kęstutis Navickas, for being with us. It's been really, really good to have you, Minister. I wish we could carry on talking, but unfortunately we have to press on with many other speakers. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much.